And yeah, let's just go through these games. So first I got Metroid, which is a big classic from 1987. Pretty good game. I'm not a huge fan of the Metroid series, but this one's a great start for the franchise. Mega Man 3. This is the only Mega Man game I have. This game, I like Metroid, I'm not a huge fan of the series, but for people who are huge fans of it, this is like a great franchise, but I'm just not a big fan of Mega Man overall. Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, these are all in random order. I didn't alphabetize these, so yeah. I'm not a guy who alphabetizes his games. Pro Wrestling. I am a huge wrestling fan, as many of you may know from my last video at the Wrestling Con. This game this is like the OG right here. This is the one that started all the wrestling games for Nintendo. The good and the bad. This one is an incredible game. This one I highly recommend anyone who's a wrestling fan and loves the Nintendo games, like early 80s Nintendo games. This one is tremendous. Came out in 86, so this is like a black box game. Yeah, it's just an incredible game. Yeah. Battletoads. This one is a very notorious game, and this game is hard as shit. And I mean, like, this might be the hardest game of the ones I have. This game is just so freaking balls to the wall. It's unbelievable. Everybody knows the infamous the hover bike stage. I think that's what it's called, the hover bike stage, where you're just riding, or the turbo tunnel stage, where you're just riding through the tunnel, and like, everything's like, it's the hardest freaking level ever, because it's like, it goes super fast, and you have to dodge things. You have to have like great sense of dodging things. It's just fucking, it's so goddamn hard. It really is. This game's very notorious. This is also a very like expensive game. This one's like, for like an NES game, it's like a $30-something game, which isn't too expensive, but it's very notorious, and everybody knows just how hard this game really is. Yeah, this is one of the later ones, but the graphics in this game, I'll give it to it. The graphics in this game are really great. So pretty overrated game in my opinion, but still has a lot of likeness to it. Another one of the black box games. This is one of the first NES games to ever come out, which is Kung Fu. Don't really need to say much about it. You all know it's a classic. It's just a freaking amazing classic for its time. It's amazing. But nowadays, it's a pretty good game. It's pretty good. Chippendale Rescue Rangers. Now, this one, in my opinion, is a very underrated game from Capcom. Capcom, at this time, for the Disney games, did some really amazing games. And Chippendale Rescue Rangers was just one of those games. They did an incredible job with this game. It's very easy to like understand. The controls are very simple to understand. And remember, these were kids that were renting this when this game came out. This game came out in like the height of the NES era, 1990. And kids, a lot of the games back then, the controls were shitty. The graphics were ass, A lot of the things, it was still pioneer times. There was some great, amazing games then, but a lot of the games for like rental stores, there was still a lot of shit in it. This game is just an incredible game, though, that like fixes all those problems. I also have a lot of nostalgia for this game because I used to watch the TV show when I was younger, and it's just a phenomenal game. Yeah, this one is just incredible. Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. My favorite beat 'em up on the NES. This game is so great. The best of the Double Dragon franchise, in my opinion. This one is just another game that came out in the height of 1990. Just absolutely phenomenal from Acclaim. It's just an incredible game. Okay, so we get to the first WWF game ever made, WrestleMania. I know there's a lot of you out there that feel nostalgic about this game, but this game, looking back on it, it's just so freaking shitty. It's just so bad. Really, this is not a good wrestling game at all. Nostalgia-wise, a lot of people have a lot of fond memories of it, but this game, it's just freaking crap. You know, it's so, all the, like, the controls, the graphics, you know, the wrestlers walk like they're going to take a shit. They don't walk like they're wrestlers. They walk like they're going to take a dump. And, like, you know, you have a lineup that's very, very small in this game. I won't get into this game really big, but if you check out a video of it or anything, this game I just don't recommend. Even if you're a wrestling fan, I just don't recommend this game. There's going to be another WWF game I have later in this video that's just so much better than this one on the NES. Really, you know, Acclaim really, like, took a shit with this one. This one is just god-awful. I'm sorry. I really wanted to defend this game, but, you know, it's just not that good, honestly, looking back at it. It really isn't. All right, that's the first stack already. I got, like, a couple more of, not a couple, but, like, 8 more stacks. Darkwing Duck. This game is a very sought after. This is actually my most expensive NES game right here. This is another Disney Capcom one, based off the TV show from the 90s. For those of you who grew up then, you know what I'm talking about. This game is like a $60, $70 game. I got this one for about $60 like a couple years ago. And I usually tend to get games at the cheapest price, but this one was worth it because this game is so great. Now, this came out during the time of the Super Nintendo where it was like very late in the Super Nintendo, in the NES's lifespan, excuse me. And, like, people were turning off from the NES to Super Nintendo. And this one that's why this game is so sought after. It's like, it's a late game. But this one is such, like, a visually appealing game. This one is another really underrated NES game that gets, you know, that doesn't get the credit it deserves. It's like a Mega Man clone. And there's rumors going around that this was going to be like a Mega Man game. But you know, even if it was, you know, this game is just absolutely phenomenal. I would have wanted this over any of the Mega Man games. I do prefer the Disney afternoon cartoon games over, you know, Mega Man, the Mega Man series, you know. It just did it for me. I'm sorry, guys. It just did it for me. Simpsons Bart versus the Space Mutants. It's okay. Not much to say about it. Tailspin. This is another like the Disney ones. This one, it's okay. It's all right. You know, it could have been better. You know, it's just okay. Another okay game. Ghostbusters, kind of crap. Track and Field 2. Now, this is the first of the Konami games that I have. I just gotta say, I love Konami. Like, Konami, in my opinion, was the best company when it came to NES games at this time. They were just top-notch, in my opinion. You know, if you're going to collect for the NES, if any of you are watching that are thinking of collecting for the NES, this game is extremely cheap. It's like a $3 game, and this game, Track and Field 2, is absolutely worth it. It is such an amazing game. Way better than the original one. I always have, and I'm not even a fan of like the Olympics or anything. I just have so much fun playing this game. It's such a fun game. Like, you know, you got all different types of events like archery, you know, canoeing, you know, the clay gun thing, the archers, you know, it's just so much fun, excuse me. It's just so much fun to play this game. And, you know, to go back to it over 30 years, Konami still, like, cranks out, like, the best games from the NES library. It's just absolutely phenomenal. But I will say, though, that this game I do recommend. I will say that the graphics in this game is another thing. The graphics is what really holds this game up for me. Because, like, the graphics, when I first played this game, I thought the graphics were like, this is like a Super Nintendo game. I couldn't believe it. And this game's from, like, 1988. Just phenomenal. You know, I definitely recommend any of the Konami games. They're all great. And they all definitely you deserve to get them if you see them. Even though not all of them are, like, outstanding. The ones I'm going to show you, though, are just phenomenal. RoboCop, another movie license. It's all right. It's not great. Super Mario Brothers 2. This one is just an absolute classic in my book. I know a lot of some people give this game gripe, and they say that it's not an original Mario Brothers game. It's not that good. But this one is just phenomenal. This one, you know, it's originally, as you know, it's from, I'm not going to go into it too much, but originally it was supposed to be another game from Japan. I think it's called Doki Doki Panic, but whatever it was. But they imported it to the US, and pretty much they made it a completely different game. I don't know exactly why. I think it's because, maybe you guys in the comments can tell me why. I'm not exactly sure. I know that the original Super Mario Brothers 2 in Japan was not released in the US. That one I'll cover another time in a different collection video, but this one is just a phenomenal game. Really, another great addition in the Mario Brothers series. I always go back to this game because the story is just great. I don't want to spoil the game, so I just want to say this game is definitely worth the purchase. And it's actually a relatively cheap NES game for the library. It's like a $15, $20 game. Very affordable, you know, great action. Just, if you have an NES, you got to have the Mario Brothers series, and this one, no exception. We got another black box game we got with the Zapper, Hogan's Alley. Just another game that's you know, a classic. Not much more to say about it. Okay, next we got an absolute classic for the NES. You already saw it. From Konami, a run and gun game called Contra. Everybody knows about it. I'm not going to go on about it, but absolutely fantastic game. One of the top 5 greatest NES games. Not for me, just in general. I think this is like one of the top 5 greatest. It's absolutely fucking amazing. Great game. Great game. Rad Racer. This one is a decent one. I'm not too big of a fan of it. It's pretty good though. I think it's alright. It's a great arcade game. If you have an NES Advantage though, it's really great. This game really shines with an NES Advantage. It's meant for it. And it's like one of those games that you just got to use the Advantage for. Same thing with Track and Field too. I forgot to mention. That game's impossible to play with just a pad. Call it cheating, but still, you know. The NES Advantage is a great console. More on that later. Rad Racer, okay. It's, you know, it's a pretty good game. Bases Loaded. There was actually a couple great baseball games for the NES. And this one, Bases Loaded, I do recommend the first one. It's pretty good. If you're a baseball fan, you'll get a lot of enjoyment out of it. This one, and there's a couple more that are just great games on its own. But this one, if you like realistic baseball, like realistic looking baseball games, this one's definitely for you. And you love the NES, this one is a must-have, I think, in the collection. The sequels, they're not really that great. I mean, I don't even know why they freaking made sequels for this series. It wasn't even just, it doesn't even need sequels. It's like, come on, it's fucking Bases Loaded. I mean, how many games of Bases Loaded can you make? I mean, come on. We got an arcade classic here in 1942. Great arcade shoot 'em up. This is a really great, yeah, this one's a really great one. From the arcade, it's all refined. There is some flickering in this game, and it's like, it's not as stable as other games, but that's because this game was this was made very early in the NES's lifespan, like 88, or 86, sorry, 86. This game was made in like 1 year when the NES was made. So there's a lot of flickering problems, which is really the only gripe I have with this game. And the game goes on forever. This one just goes on and on and on. It's crazy. Definitely, for you arcade fans out there, this one's a must-have, though, if you can find it. It's not too common of a game, either. Of course, I knew I'd get to this one, The Legend of Zelda, the gold cartridge, the only game in my collection that's not a great cartridge for the NES. Just this game, I don't even need to talk about this one. Everybody knows it's a classic. Yeah, we'll just put it like that. You know, I got a lot of games here I got to get to, but that game is just a classic. Everybody knows. I don't got to go on about it. Boy Meets Blob, another extremely underrated game by Absolute, which is the only game I have from them for the NES. This one is extremely underrated because it's a puzzle game, but it's not like a Tetris puzzle game. It's like an adventure puzzle game. This one is very inventive. Like, I want to talk about this one for a bit. This one has, like, you have this blob who's from, like, Blobolonia, it's Trouble in Blobolonia. And there's this kid who basically, you feed him jelly beans. It's a crazy game. And, like, he turns into different, like, materials you can use, like a jack or, like, a trampoline. And the game uses, like, it's very inventive what the blob can do. It's, like, there's a lot of great stuff in this game that just makes it worth buying. And I think this game is definitely a classic. It's very cheap, too. When I got this, it was like a $10 game. It's now, I think it's like 15 or 20, but this game is definitely worth it. It's very unique in the collection, and yeah, it's definitely worth it. One thing I will say though, the graphics are okay for its time. Could have been better, but it's just a phenomenal game. Great soundtrack. The one gripe I have with this game is that there's really not too many enemies, and like the enemies they did with all like the stuff they came up with for the blob, it's like you could come up with better enemies than that. It's like the enemies are weak. They're like, it's stupid enemies. Like, you got a caterpillar jumping from side to side. It's just dumb. But this is definitely worth purchasing. That's just my gripes. This game is definitely worth it. Another underrated game. Yeah, there's going to be a ton of them in this video, so get ready. Roller games. This is one that is just a classic in my book. The thing about roller games is that this one is very forgettable. I will say, there's a lot of stuff in here. Like, on concept, this is like an amazing game. It's underrated for that, like, not many people talk about it. It has a unique concept in, like, roller skating, and it's like a beat 'em up for roller skating. But, like, the thing about the game is that, it gets repetitive after a while. You're doing the same things. It gets repetitive. But this game still is amazing. Although it's repetitive and it gets kind of boring sometimes, this game is based off the TV show Roller Games from the 80s and early 90s. Some of you may know out there. This one is also from Ultra Games, which was also, believe it or not, owned by Konami. They had a rule back then where, Ultra Games, they had a rule where you couldn't release, like, I think, like, over 5 or 4 games a month, a year, a year. And which is pretty crazy because, like, that means, like, you don't get as much money for the games. I don't know why Nintendo did it. Maybe somebody in the comments can tell me why they did it. I don't know why. But still, this game is, Konami went past that. And what they did was created Ultra Games, which was a completely different company that made great games, but was under the branch of Konami. They were smart. They went over the rights of Nintendo. I don't know how Nintendo didn't see it, but they just went over it. And it just worked. They just made so many great games. They even made it, like, up until, like, the Super Nintendo run. It was that crazy. Nintendo never even caught them. And, it's nuts, but... anyways, you ever see any of these Ultra games, they're pretty much Konami games. This one's definitely worth it. If you can pick this one up, it's a really cheap game as well. And that's another great thing about the NES games compared to, like, other systems like Super Nintendo, GameCube, and 64. They're like all games, the games that are classics are cheap. They're not too expensive on the market because not many people are buying them on the market. Bayou Billy. Really another freaking hard game. Just, like Battletoads, this game is really, really hard, which really ruins the fun factor for this game. But I will say this game is unique. I like the Louisiana Bayou Swamp environment for Bayou Billy. It's just, there's also a scene, I think it's an option you can use the zapper. It's very nice though. This game is very good. It is hard though, so if you can get past like the beat 'em up stage, the rest of the game is very fun. I've only done it once though, so that just tells you how hard this game is. Konami though, still excellent graphics, great cutscenes, a good story as well. Very good. Get that camera in focus. Yeah, really great story. Just, yeah. If you want it, I kind of recommend this one. It's pretty cheap. But if you don't like repetitive beat-em-up games, I just don't recommend it to you. Okay. So, next one, I got Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. What more needs to be said about Mike Tyson's Punch-Out? It's just a classic. Absolute classic. I don't need to say more about it. Tecmo Super Bowl, a very great football game for the system. Many of you may know. Absolute classic. This one is also another sought-after game. This one game, I don't know why. This game is like a $40 game. I have no idea why this game is so sought after. It's not even like that hard of a game. It's not even like that rare of a game. It's just pretty uncommon. But it's pretty sought after, believe it or not. And this is the sequel to Tecmo Bowl, which I'll go over soon. This one they actually got the NFL license for this one, which is pretty damn cool. If you're into NFL just as much as I am, this is definitely worth your time, though. This is a great NES football game. One of the best on the console, hands down. The sequel to Contra, we got Super C, which is an excellent follow-up to Contra. I have so many memories with playing this game with my dad. Absolute, just an incredible game. Another great run and gun shooter where they just added more to Contra. They just added more to it. And this game is harder than the original Contra, which will keep some fans, which will turn some fans off to it. And unfortunately, it doesn't have the awesome 30 Lives Konami code everyone knows. All retro gamers gotta know that. All of them. And unfortunately, it doesn't have that, but this game is still an amazing sequel. Definitely recommend it. All right. We got Star Wars for the NES. Yeah, this one's okay. The Star Wars games got better as they progressed. This one is all right. It's still pretty good, though, and it's another sought-after one. This one's like a $20 game, though. Pretty uncommon. Not very easy to find as well. So it's another one like Darkwing Duck where it's just not... It's a pretty sought-after game, so... yeah. Also, I don't have any games that are like $100 games and whatnot. I don't have like any of those rare, like the stadium events, shit like that. That's like very, very hard to find. But, yeah. I just have my most expensive game was Darkwing Duck, which is $60, $70 game. All right, Excite Bike, another black box classic, one of the launch titles for the NES, like Kung Fu. One of the best launch titles. Also, I got the original box with it, 37-year-old box right here. Unfortunately, it doesn't have the manual. It's all ripped up. This one's really not worth that much, I guess, since it's all ripped up. But this game is very, very, an absolute classic for the system. Just very, very fun, even after all these years. I think this is the most fun black box game, aside from Super Mario Brothers, because that doesn't really count as a black box, in my opinion, even though it is. This one is this is the most fun I've had with a black box game. It's definitely worth it. This one is I think it's the best black box game, hands down. It fucking rules, this game. It's so great. Excite Bike. I love going back to it every once in a while. And another great thing is you can build your own tracks in this. You can build your own courses, which is very, very innovative for the time and mind-blowing, that you can build your own tracks and everything. It's incredible. Definitely worth buying Excite Bike. I do have some boxes. I don't have too many, though. Tiny Toon Adventures. Very underappreciated NES game. Another one that came out during the Super Nintendo time, but it's from Konami, and you know the rule. Konami almost always delivers with its NES games. Very rare do they put out a shitty or mediocre game. This one, for the NES time though, this one is just incredible. Very great platformer. If you love Super Mario Brothers 3, this is definitely another one to check out. Based off the TV show. I'm not too fond of Tiny Toon Adventures, like the TV show. I don't know too much about it, but a lot of people out there do. They love Tiny Toon Adventures. Another sought-after one. This one's another kind of hard one to find. Not really common, so I'm very happy to have it in the collection. And then we end this stack with Fester's Quest. Pretty underrated, but very, very hard game. This game, I'm a very big fan of the Addams Family, so this game is like, I love this game, no surprise, but some people out there probably don't. I think it's a lot better than what people say, though. I think it gets a lot of crap. It doesn't really deserve it, Fester's Quest. I love the environment that it's in for the Addams Family, and Sunsoft is just an incredible publisher. You're just going to see just how great their games really are. They got some incredible ones from back in the day. So, yeah, Fester's Quest. Incredible game. It's really damn good, though. I recommend this one. Even though it's pretty hard, I recommend it. All right. Next shelf stack, one I don't even need to talk about in great detail. Another one, Super Mario Brothers 3. You know, it came out at the height of 1990. And I will say 1990 was the best year for the NES. You had Super C, Batman, Super Mario Brothers 3, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. You had Dr. Mario. You had so many great games. And this is just one of many. This is like a glorified example of it. I don't need to go over Super Mario Brothers 3. I just got to say, this is like my original cartridge. All these games are original, by the way. None of them are fakes. Watch out for fakes when you're out like collecting these. The fakes are very common for the NES. I don't know about other consoles, but the NES is very notorious with its fakes. So just watch out when you're out there collecting these games. Just watch out for the fakes. But this one, absolutely incredible game. What more needs to be said for that? For Super Mario Bros. 3. Top Gun. I think this is another game that gets a lot of hate. The movie license, though, is really unnecessary for this game. This game really didn't need to be based off of Top Gun. The whole point Konami did it was just to sell copies, which really doesn't sound like Konami whatsoever. This is an early Konami game. This one came out in like 87. We're like right near Castlevania and Double Dribble. And like, you know, it's pretty good for like a flight simulator. It's a great starting point, and I could see a lot of games got inspiration from this one. Just a great Konami game. The only gripe I have for it is it's only 4 levels. I mean, come on, 4 levels. They could have put a lot more into that and make the game easier with a lot more levels than just 4 levels and just make it like really hard. I never had problems with landing the plane like many people did. I don't know why people had so many problems with it. It's not as hard as like, you know, like the Angry Video Game Nerd said, where he said it was extremely hard. It really isn't. Pretty great Konami game. And now we go to my all-time favorite NES game. This one is my love for the NES. One of my favorite games of all time. The first Nintendo Power magazine I ever read, which will go to Nintendo Power, will actually be a spoiler. That will be another collection video for the future. This one is an absolute classic, and it deserves to be, in my opinion, the greatest NES game ever made. Batman for the NES. A lot of people are going to argue with me that this isn't the greatest. Some people may agree it is. This one, in my opinion, is the best of the best. Not only is this based off the incredible Tim Burton Batman movie, which I think is the best superhero movie of all time, still to this day, but you got not only the license carrying it, you got a game with an incredible soundtrack, follows the movie. I will say the game doesn't play like the movie, but it follows the movie. It has everything you can ask for in a Batman video game. It's literally jumping from wall to wall, side-scrolling, but like side-scrolling fun that anybody can enjoy. Sure, this game is hard. It is hard, but it is definitely worth going through this game. You know, if you can beat this game, in my opinion, you are amazing at video games. Because this game, it's not like impossible hard like that, like Battletoads, for example. This game is a great difficulty, and it balances out with the great graphics, amazing soundtrack. Sunsoft, I'm telling you, knows how to make soundtracks. This Fester's Quest and like other games from them, they just have amazing soundtracks. Sunsoft was like the king of soundtracks back then. And, you know, this game is the glorified example of my collection. This is like the golden game right here. I wish I had the box for this game. I wish I had the manual. I do have the Nintendo Power, though, which we'll save for another time. This game is incredible. I cannot... This is a 5-star game to me. Excellent. Absolutely perfect game. Absolutely perfect. You know what? I just can't stress enough how amazing this game is. This I recommend to any fan of the NES and Batman. Highly recommend this one. It is amazing. This is when Batman was Batman. When it wasn't the shitty Batman movies like nowadays. This is the Batman game to get. It is absolutely incredible. Definitely recommend. Can't go on enough about it. Another gorgeous piece in my collection, which I think is one of the best pieces ever, is Turtles 3: The Manhattan Project. I have all 3 of the Turtles games, all four of the Turtles games, which I'm gonna go through. Oddly enough, this is the one that actually sold the least of all those copies. This one got the worst sales, and because of that, this game is so sought after. This is like a $60 game in my hands right here. This one is just, it's a great beat 'em up game once again. The cover here though is phenomenal. The Turtles games always had great covers, and this one, just look at how amazing. Look at all the detail put into this one. This one, oh, my camera's blurry. See if I could. I hate when that happens, but look at that. The incredible detail just put into this cover is just phenomenal. I definitely recommend this one, hands down. Amazing game. Skate or Die. This is a skateboarding game. You know, I got all different types of genres in the NES collection, you know. I'm just not a fan of RPGs, but this one is just an incredible skating game. Love Skate or Die. Controls are hard as shit. Very hard to master. It's a great game though. It's a classic. It deserves it up there. It's pretty good. And it's Skate or Die. What can I say? Bigfoot. This game's okay. Okay, monster truck game. I had some fun with it. Controls are confusing as hell for that game though. Look at all the games we've gone through so far. We're only halfway there, guys. All right, Dr. Mario, classic. I'm gonna speed this up a bit. This is my dad's favorite NES game. He loves this one. He used to play this one so much back in the day. Just an amazing puzzle game. Up there with the best. Legacy of the Wizard. This is an RPG adventure game. Not really RPG as you would think, you know. Not Final Fantasy type of RPG. It's mostly an adventure game. This is the only Broderbund game I have, and it's pretty good. It's pretty good for what it is. They had a pretty cool commercial. A lot of, I have to say, a lot of the NES games back then, even the shitty ones, had great commercials. They just knew how to make gaming commercials back then. It ain't like it is now, really, with the gaming commercials. This one, and just a great commercial. The game's okay. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. It is what it is. It's Legacy of the Wizard. It's a long-ass game, though. All right, here we get to the shit of my collection, the bottom of the barrel. Back to the Future Part 2 and 3. Lord, do I regret buying this game. I love the Back to the Future series. I love it just as much as the other guy. And this game is just so disappointing, you know. This one, in my opinion, is the worst game in my collection, hands down. Worse than Ghostbusters, worse than any of the NES games. They're like the people consider the worst of all time. Worse than, what are some terrible, there's some terrible ones out there, but worse than like any of the terrible NES games out there. If anybody said this one is bottom of the barrel, worse than like a ton of the other ones, this one just doesn't make any sense to me. This game came out in the height of 1990. Nintendo knew what they were doing. LJN, not the best publisher, but they can still make somewhat decent games sometimes. Sometimes they can make decent games. And I'm going to show them. There's a couple of them I have that are decent. But this one just, I don't know what happened here. I don't know what they did. I don't know what they screwed up on, but go see the videos for this one. This one's just god-awful. I don't know what to say. I'm sorry. It's just an I'm sorry from LJN. I'm sorry. Blades of Steel, amazing sports game. You know it's Konami. You know it's great. All I gotta say. Baseball Stars. Like I said before, there's some other great baseball games from the NES, and this one is just a very notorious one. Very big on this one as well. I do like the next game coming up though. That's just a better baseball game. It's my favorite of the collection. But this one I can definitely see being someone's favorite for the NES. SNK, amazing baseball game. They really knew how to make it. Also, like I said, this is a relatively cheap game. Pretty common, not too hard to find. It's definitely worth it if you're a big baseball fan. Okay. Oops, one of them fell. All right, so this is Base Wars, an amazing baseball game, amazing robot, like a very great concept from Ultra Games. Of course, you know it's great. And I got the manual with the game as well. I got that manual there with the case, the original case it came from. Used to love this game a lot. I used to play this one so much. You know, absolutely love Base Wars. They were going to do like a Cyber Stadium series. What their plans were like to make, you know, Cyber Stadium series football or Cyber Stadium series, you know, soccer or whatever. Never did it. I don't know why. This is the only game from like the Cyber Stadium series. They never made another one. I don't know why that is. I think it's because the Super Nintendo happened and they weren't planning it. And Ultra was like, oh shit, now we only have this one game, so... I mean, I would have liked to see what the other ones were if it wasn't for the Super Nintendo, but this game is it's just a great game. No, great baseball game. Definitely a unique one compared to, like, the others. And then we end this stack with Tetris. Another, I don't even need to go into detail with this one. It's phenomenal. Tetris is just a phenomenal game with the puzzle game. The puzzle genre for this and Dr. Mario, phenomenal. Always love Tetris. DuckTales. This game is also... This might be my second favorite game, aside from Batman, on the NES. Amazing, amazing, amazing game. Absolute classic. You never played DuckTales and you have an NES, you're missing out. You got problems then, man. Because this is the golden era of Saturday morning Disney cartoons. Amazing. Just a phenomenal game. Definitely deserves every ounce of credit that it's gotten over the years. You know, I can't say it enough. This is actually Pat's favorite NES game, and this is one of my favorites. You got, anybody who sees this game, you gotta get it. You just gotta get this one. Very, very amazing NES game. Just absolutely phenomenal. You get to choose your own stages. Like I said, I'm a huge sucker for the Disney Capcom games. They're just incredible. A lot of these are just phenomenal. And DuckTales, this is like the golden game of that bunch. Amazing. All right, Tecmo Bowl. We got Tecmo Bowl here, the original Tecmo game. This is the one. This is the one everyone played back then. This is the one that's more common than the other one I showed. This game is just damn good. Damn great game. Tecmo knew how to make a football game. Game is great. And this is Tecmo Bowl and Tecmo Super Bowl are the games I highly recommend for the NES. You're not going to go wrong with either of them. I have both of them because I'm a huge fan of football, but you're not going to go wrong with either of these. It's just incredible. And then, of course, we got Air Fortress. Very underappreciated game. Definitely deserves a lot more credit than it's gotten over the years. I love every concept of this game. That you're this guy named Hal, and you're on this, and you're going to these fortresses trying to, you know, destroy the. I think it was like some type of, you know. I forgot what it was called, but it was like the blast processor or something. I don't know. Something like that. I might be completely wrong, but You destroy the thing in each fortress, and you go on to the next one, and it's just so much fun, you know? It's so unique for its time. That's what I love about these NES games. Some of them, like A Boy and His Blob, Fester's Quest, and like Air Fortress, they're all unique games. They all have their own like space of uniqueness that like no other game did. It's not like, you know, a Mario Brothers game where it's just like a clone of it, you know? No, these people like from HAL took the time to make a game that was just above the rest when it came to uniqueness. Just amazing. Ugh. All right, next I got both Turtles games. I might as well just show both of them off. I got 1 and 2. One is both of these games I grew up with. They're just the best of the best. I grew up with both of these games. I just love both of them. The Turtles 1 game is very, very hard, and I will say it's balls to the walls. It's a pain in the ass game, but it is such a fun game still, and I think it's worth it. If anyone's wondering, though, this cover is actually from the original comic books. That's why they have all the red bandanas. Don't ask me why they went with this cover. It's a great cover, but, you know, they got better with it. And this game is a classic. Absolute. The first ever Turtles game ever made. One of the best-selling NES games of all time. You can find this game literally everywhere. If you're a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fan, just as much as I am, you definitely go treat yourself to that game. And Turtles 2, the arcade game. This one also came with the free personal pizza from Pizza Hut. I think I have it somewhere. I don't know where the manual is for this game. It's somewhere in the house. It's somewhere here. I know I have it somewhere. And the pizza pan is somewhere lost in there. But this box is great. Also, I forgot. I got the original Turtles box as well. So these are 2 great boxes. I love having the box games. Always thankful for these boxes because these are very hard to find, and the boxes really raise the prices for these games. So I definitely recommend you check out the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games. You won't be disappointed. Even though it gets a lot of hate still. All right, we got another game that came out in the hype of 1990. Another underrated NES game. Another underappreciated game that Nintendo just doesn't give a shit about anymore. They don't give a shit about this franchise. Haven't even looked at it for over 25 years or whatever. Star Tropics. Amazing concept. You have this kid who has to do these different missions on the island, who has to, like, save his grandfather. I think it's his grandfather, like his doctor, his uncle. His uncle. It was his uncle on the island. And, you know, it's just such a unique game. You go into, like, each level and, you know, the guy's name is Mike. And he uses a yo-yo as a weapon to, like, kill enemies. It sounds crazy on paper, but, man, if you ever played this game, it's just amazing. And it's also relatively cheap as well. Got my copy for $10. It's absolutely worth it. It's phenomenal. Star Tropics is 100% worth it. Definitely recommend this game. All right, I got another stack here. I know this video is gonna be pretty damn long, so just bear with me here, guys. If you're still watching this video, you guys are legends. You're legends if you're still watching this. Just saying, you know, you sitting through all this. Airwolf. I'm gonna go a little faster with these. It's okay. Blaster Master, another great game from Sunsoft, another unique concept. Relatively cheap. Another one I recommend for you NES gamers out there. Definitely recommend it. Adventures in the Magic Kingdom. Great Disney Capcom game. Like I said, the duo of Capcom and Disney can do no wrong. And this is a very underrated one. Not many people talk about it. All right, Jackal. Great Konami game. Definitely worth it. Another one I would recommend. Commando, an early Capcom game, 86. It's pretty good. It's pretty hard though. Alright. Let's get through the rest of these. Alright. Next I got Bugs Bunny's Birthday Blowout, which, believe it or not, is an underrated gem in my opinion. Sure, this game is easy as hell. Yeah, so pretty much Birthday Blowout is a really underrated gem in my book. I think Like, even though this game gets a lot of gripe, I still think that it's very, 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 very great for its time. It came out the 50th anniversary of Bugs Bunny's birthday. Officially, they did a big thing in 1990, if you don't know, and that's why this game was so big, because it had such a big selling point. It's a lot bigger than people remember it, and I just think it just got lost in time, honestly. This game it was only there for like a year, and people then just forgot about it afterwards. All right, next I got Rambo, which is okay. Another movie license game. It's all right. Metal Gear, absolute classic. Started the franchise. Game is hard as shit, and I don't like that you start from the beginning every time you lose. But hey, that's the way it was back then. That's NES hard for you. And what more can you say? Should have had a better password system though. A lot of these games have shitty password systems. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Another movie license game, not a huge fan of it. Karate Kid. This is what I was talking about from LJN. When they produce games that are like great, not good, that are movie licensed. This one, although it only has 4 levels like Top Gun, it does its job. It does its job of being, a great movie licensed game. It does its job. You can't fault it for that. It's very underappreciated, very, ripped off because of the AVGN. And what I mean by ripped off, I mean people don't give it a chance. They don't, they look past it because the AVGN said it's shit and everything. But this game's actually pretty underrated. If you're a fan of Karate Kid, this is a classic. Came out, this one's based off the second movie, and it's pretty damn great. It's very underappreciated. Yeah, I'm actually going to go over that one in a little bit. Give me a sec for that one. Here we go. This is the WWF game I was talking about. I'm a huge fan, as you know, of wrestling. This is the game. This is my favorite NES wrestling game. I know a lot of people are going to hate me for it, are going to, all the wrestling fans are going to go against me for it that love the NES. That this is WrestleMania Challenge is better than pro wrestling. They're all going to hate on me for it, but bear with me here. I like to think this is the first, officially licensed one, even though it wasn't, because it had a great cast. You had Hulk Hogan, Andre, Big Boss Man, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, which is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Ultimate Warrior, Macho King, Brutus the Barber Beefcake, and Ravishing Rick Rude, of course. You had an incredible lineup of those characters, way better than the year before. I think this was way better. I mean, I would have loved Honky Tonk Man in this, and Ted DiBiase, but come on, I mean, you already got Hacksaw and Ravishing Rick Rude. Those are 2 great wrestlers on their own. This one is amazing though, because it's not aged the best, but when you think of the time when this came out, and you think about where the WWF was, how big it was back then, which I'll go through another time. This game came out in the height of the WWF back then. Came out in late 1990. People were still buying it. People were still buying how great the WWF was, how great these guys were in the ring. And this game is just so much fun. Finally, you get a crowd for once. You get a crowd in this game, which it's good to see, at least for once. And this game is just great. I recommend it. If you're a wrestling fan, I think it's very underappreciated. Of course, some of you are also going to point at the WCW game, which is on. You'll see in the corner. Yeah, that one's great too, but I'm just a personal fan. I'm a sucker for the WWF, so that's why I like this one the most. It's just me personally. I know that it could have had a better lineup. It could have had a tournament in it, but still, you get a wrestling game at least, other than that other shit turd over there. Let's see what else I got. More Castlevania. Here we go. Mario, the original Mario Brothers game. I don't need to say anything about it. You all know about it. RC Pro-Am. Although my cover for this game looks like crap. This looks like a dog pissed on it or something. It doesn't look that good, but still, It works great. It works great, actually. You guys might not believe me, but these games work incredible. RC Pro-Am. This is one of my favorite racing games ever. This is my favorite racing game for the NES because there's literally no others. This didn't really have a lot of great. The NES didn't really have any great racing games except for RC Pro-Am. RC Pro-Am is amazing. Definitely worth getting a hold of, and it's relatively cheap as well. Like I've said, that's the beauty of the NES. Games are great, and the games that are great are relatively cheap for most of them. Double Dribble, classic basketball game. I'm not a fan of basketball, and I don't know shit about it. I'm being honest with you, but this game is great. This game is just. There's one for every console that I love. And this one is just the one that I love for this console. Konami nailed it out of the park. No NBA license, but who needs it? This game is just great. It's absolute classic. Double Dribble. Friday the 13th, another LJN movie license game. It's okay. I don't think it's that great. I think it's fine for what it is. Here we have an extremely underrated game in a Steinax. Very, very underappreciated. This game deserves a lot more credit than it's given. Even though that cover is really shitty, the game is not like that at all. It's very fun. It's a medieval game. It's about this high school kid who goes in his dreams and he has to defeat a ton of different bosses, that medieval bosses or whatever, to save this queen. And excuse me, the story from Jalico, this one has an amazing story. So yeah, just amazing. All right. We got more, but not too many. I swear, the games are almost done, guys. I swear. Life Force shooter, pretty good. Little Nemo, the Dream Master, pretty underrated, very underrated Capcom game. How many times have I said underrated in this video? I know, right? Just, I recommend this one as well. Just amazing. I'm just going under because I got it. I think this video is already an hour or something now. Ghostbusters 2. It is what it is. It's an improvement over the first one, but not that much. Kings of the Beach. Pretty great volleyball game. Yeah, it's pretty good. From Ultra Games. Jaws, this is another one of the underrated LJN games I was talking about. It doesn't follow the movie at all. Literally doesn't. Just Jaws is in it. But it's still pretty fun. Gunsmoke, underrated Capcom game. Very underappreciated for its time. Yeah, I really wish, there would have been more hype for this game back in the day. Because that's why no one really knows about this one. It's pretty, it's not expensive. It's that, it's sought after. A lot of people you won't really find this one, your video game stores, like the family-owned ones. By the way, if you guys are wondering, I will put a link in the description for the stores that I shopped at when I got these games. When I got all these games, I mean, there was some of them, but there was a lot of them, but I'll go over the main ones. And I'll go over those recommendations. Adventure Island. Great start to the Adventure Island series. I'm not a fan of it at all. I only like this game, the first one. I don't have any of the other ones, so this is the one I've only had in my collection. I'm proud with it. It's a $15 game. It's still a great game. Ninja Gaiden. Underrated. No, not underrated. I'm using underrated so much in this video. Very, very amazing game. This is one of my go-to favorites. I used to play this one a lot, and I still do to this day. It's incredible. This is one of the best covers on the NES ever. I will say, this is one of the greatest covers ever that Tecmo could have went with. Really, I only have the first one, like Adventure Island. I don't have any of the sequels, and it's very surprising they never made another one of these for Super Nintendo. Still a great game. Back to the Future, pretty good. Not great. Not as bad as people say. Narc, almost done here, guys. Almost done. Pretty underrated. Yes, another underrated game. This one was the Just Say No International from from Ronald Reagan's wife who made it. And, you know, this game was probably made because of that, to keep kids off drugs pretty much. That's the whole point of this game. But it's a great game, I'm telling you. It's a great game to have. Narc. Relatively cheap too. And of course, before I end it with the Castlevania series, it is right here, Duck Hunt. Can't say enough about Duck Hunt, you know. It's a Zapper game, and a lot of people have said too much about it. So, it's a Zapper game. It's one of the original first games that came out, along with Super Mario Brothers, Kung Fu, Excite Bike, blah 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 blah. You know, it's an amazing game, amazing classic. All right, the Castlevania series is right here. I got all 3 of the original ones. This is the series. You got 1, which is my favorite's 3. 2 is the one I played the most, though. I'll be honest with you. 2 is the game that gets the most gripe, but I had the most fun playing this one. But my favorite's 3 because just of how great it is. That game is amazing, and 1 is just a classic in my opinion. It's the granddaddy of them all. Amazing series, amazing trilogy. I recommend you get at least one of those Castlevania games because they're incredible.